Japan has a habit of looking at things everyone else accepts as finished and improves them anyway. Internet cafes where a private booth with food, drinks, and everything you need costs less than a hotel room. Sunscreen and a stick that you apply like deodorant without touching your face or leaving residue on your hands. And a stone so hot it cooks raw meat at your table in seconds, putting every decision about how your food is prepared entirely in your hands. Japan doesn't just improve things, it improves them so thoroughly that going back to the way everyone else does starts to feel like a step backwards. Today, we're counting down 15 Japanese ideas that instantly improve everyday life. Watch until the end because number 15, restaurants that have served only one dish for their entire existence, shows how mastering one specialty can outshine an entire menu. Number 1. 24-hour internet cafes as accommodation. Japanese internet cafes, known as manga kisa or net cafes, operate around the clock and function as genuine overnight accommodation for travelers, commuters who missed the last train, and anyone who needs a place to sleep in a city without paying hotel prices. A private booth costs a fraction of the cheapest hotel room in the same area. It comes with a reclining chair that folds flat enough to sleep in, a computer, high-speed internet, an unlimited drink station, access to thousands of manga volumes, and hot food options available throughout the night. The booths are enclosed with a door or curtain. You have privacy, darkness, climate control, and everything you need to either sleep or stay productive until morning. Japan built a hospitality format that fills the gap between a cafe and a hotel at a price point that makes an unplanned overnight stay in an expensive city a manageable inconvenience rather than a financial problem. Number 2. Sunscreen sticks. Japan produces sunscreen in solid stick form that applies directly to skin like a deodorant stick, delivering full SPF protection without liquid, without mess, without white cast, and without leaving any residue on the hands that touched it. You uncap it, apply it to your face, neck, or any exposed skin in a few strokes, and recap it. No squeezing, no spreading, no rubbing product off your palms afterward. The application takes seconds and leaves nothing behind except the protection. The solid format is also significantly more practical for travel, bags, and pockets than a tube or bottle. It can't leak. It doesn't require a liquids bag on a flight. It sits in a jacket pocket and is available whenever sun exposure becomes a consideration without any setup required. Japan treated sunscreen application as a product design problem and produced a format so practical that using a tube afterward feels like a deliberate inconvenience. The protection is the same. Everything about using it is better. Number 3. Convenience store microwaves and meal options. Japanese convenience stores stock an extensive range of microwavable prepared meals, covering every meal category from breakfast rice dishes to full bento boxes to hot soups and pasta, and every store provides a free microwave on the counter that any customer can use immediately after purchase. You select your meal, pay, hand it to the staff, or use the counter microwave yourself, and eat a hot prepared meal within 2 minutes of walking through the door. No kitchen required, no delivery wait, no minimum spend. The quality of convenience store prepared food in Japan is significantly higher than the equivalent in most countries, with daily fresh preparation, seasonal menus, and a standard that makes the konbini a legitimate meal destination rather than a last resort. Japan built a meal infrastructure into a retail network that covers every neighborhood and operates around the clock. Then added a free heating appliance at the counter, so the gap between buying food and eating it hot is measured in seconds rather than minutes. If you're enjoying this so far, go ahead and tap like. It tells YouTube you want more of Japan's clever everyday innovations. And if you love discovering things you didn't even know existed, hit subscribe so you don't miss the rest of this list. Trust me, the next ones are even cooler. Number 4. Free water at every restaurant. Every restaurant in Japan provides cold water to their customers the moment they sit down, without being asked, without it appearing on the bill, and without any expectation that ordering a drink from the menu is required to access it. You sit down, water arrives. It stays topped up throughout the meal. You pay for your food and leave. The water is never a transaction. In most countries, water at a restaurant is either a purchase, a negotiation, or something you have to specifically request and then wait for. Japan treats it as a basic hospitality standard that requires no decision from either the customer or the staff. The cost to the restaurant is negligible. The signal it sends about how the establishment views its customers is immediate. You are a guest, not a revenue opportunity. The water is there because you are thirsty and you are in a restaurant, and those two facts together are sufficient reason to provide it. Number 5. Pill splitter and cutter box. Japan produces compact pill splitter and organizer boxes that combine a blade for cleanly cutting tablets in half with a built-in weekly pill storage compartment, handling both the cutting and the organizing of medication in a single palm-sized device. You place the tablet in the cutting slot, press the lid down, and the blade divides it cleanly in half. The two halves drop into the storage tray below, rather than flying across the counter. The weekly compartments alongside the cutter hold the sorted doses for each day, so the entire medication management routine happens in one place with one object. Splitting tablets by hand with a knife or with a blunt pharmacy cutter produces inconsistent results and sends pieces in unpredictable directions. The Japanese version does it cleanly, contains the result, and stores the doses in sequence. Japan made medication management a single compact tool rather than a collection of separate objects that never seem to be in the same place at the same time. Number 6. Coffee vending machines. Japan's coffee vending machines dispense genuine, freshly brewed coffee from ground beans rather than reconstituted powder, producing a cup that competes with a cafe output from a machine on a street corner available at any hour for a price significantly below what a coffee shop charges. The machines grind beans per cup, brew through a filter or pressurized system, and dispense the result into a cup within about a minute of the selection being made. The output is hot, fresh, and produced from actual coffee rather than a powder approximating it. They are positioned inside convenience stores, at train stations, in office lobbies, and on street corners throughout Japan. The quality gap between a vending machine coffee in Japan and one anywhere else in the world is large enough that Japanese coffee machines have developed their own international reputation among travelers. Japan treated vending machine coffee as a product worth doing properly, rather than a convenience format that excuses a lower standard, and the result is a genuinely good cup available everywhere at any hour. Number 7. Hot stone soup reheating at the table. Certain traditional Japanese restaurants, particularly those serving regional soups and nabe dishes, use a heated stone dropped directly into the bowl to reheat soup that has cooled during the meal, restoring the temperature without diluting the broth, changing the flavor, or requiring the bowl to be taken back to the kitchen. The stone is heated in a fire or on a stove to a high temperature, brought to the table with tongs, and lowered into the soup. The heat transfers immediately. The broth bubbles around the stone, and the temperature is restored in seconds. It's a technique that's been used in Japanese cooking for centuries and remains in practice at restaurants that treat the entire meal experience, including the temperature of the food throughout the sitting, as the kitchen's responsibility rather than the diner's problem. Japan built soup reheating into the dining experience as a tableside service rather than an interruption to the meal, and the result is a bowl that stays at the correct temperature from the first sip to the last. Number 8. Fueki glue. Fueki is a Japanese craft glue sold in a distinctive yellow bottle shaped like a round character face that has remained essentially unchanged since its introduction in the 1975. And it's one of those products that works so well and is designed so thoughtfully that it became a cultural fixture rather than just a stationary item. The glue formula is non-toxic, dries clear, and bonds paper cleanly without warping thin sheets or bleeding through. The applicator brush built into the cap is sized correctly for the tasks the glue is used for, rather than being too large or too stiff to control on small areas. The bottle design is the part that made it iconic. The round yellow face with simple features is immediately recognizable and has been used without significant alteration for decades because it works as a product identity in the same way the glue works as an adhesive. Completely, reliably, and without complication. Japan made a glue that does its job perfectly and put it in a bottle worth keeping on the desk. Number 9. Canned drinks with real lemon inside. Japan produces canned drinks, most notably certain lemon sour and sparkling water varieties, with a real slice of dried or preserved lemon sealed inside the can that rehydrates in the liquid and contributes genuine citrus flavor from the fruit itself, rather than from flavoring added to the liquid. You open the can, and a real piece of lemon is in there. The flavor it contributes is different from artificial lemon flavoring, in the same way that squeezing a lemon into water tastes different from a lemon-flavored drink. The fruit is the source. It's a detail that requires no extra effort from the person drinking it and changes the quality of the product measurably. The can costs about the same as any other. The experience of drinking something flavored by an actual piece of fruit rather than a flavor compound is immediately different. Japan put a real lemon in a can because the drink tastes better with it there, and there was no reason not to. Number 10. Cooking on a hot stone at your table. Ishiyaki is a Japanese dining format where a thick volcanic stone heated to a high temperature is brought to the table and raw ingredients are cooked directly on its surface by the person eating, giving complete control over every piece of food from the moment it hits the stone to the moment it goes on the fork. You place a slice of meat on the surface, watch it sear, flip it when you want to, and eat it at the exact doneness you chose. The stone maintains its heat throughout the meal. The cooking never stops until you decide it should. It turns the meal into an activity. You're not waiting for food to arrive. You're making every decision about how it's cooked in real time at the table with no intermediary between you and the result. The volcanic stone creates a crust and flavor that a pan or grill produces differently. The direct contact with the heated rock surface is part of what the dish is. Number 11. Rice quality checks before sale. Japan conducts quality assessments on rice before it reaches retail sale, with samples taken from batches and evaluated for taste, texture, moisture content, and grain integrity before the rice is graded and priced accordingly. The grading system produces a retail environment where rice is sold with a specific quality designation that reflects an actual assessment of that batch, rather than a generic product description. Consumers know what grade they're buying, and the grade reflects a standardized evaluation, rather than a marketing decision. The practical outcome is a rice supply where quality is verified rather than assumed. The highest grades reflect genuinely superior eating quality that the assessment process identified, and the lower grades are priced accordingly rather than sold at a premium without justification. Japan treats rice with the seriousness that wine-producing countries apply to grapes. The crop is assessed, graded, and sold with transparency about what the grade means and what produced it. A bag of Japanese rice tells you something true about what's inside it. Number 12. Free book covers? Japanese bookshops wrap every purchased book in a paper cover at no charge as part of the standard purchase process, providing a clean sleeve that protects the cover, conceals the title from other passengers on the train, and gives the book a finished presentation that reflects the care applied to everything else in Japanese retail. You pay for the book, and the staff folds a precisely cut paper cover around it in a few smooth motions before handing it over. The fold is neat, the fit is exact, and the whole process takes about 15 seconds. The privacy element is practical for a country where reading on the train is standard, and the title of what you're reading is not necessarily something you want visible to every person standing nearby. The protection element extends the life of the cover through the period of active reading, when most cover wear occurs. Japan made book wrapping a standard retail courtesy and produced a small, precise act of care that costs almost nothing and improves the experience of buying a book in a way that's immediately noticeable. Number 13. Smago Smart Trash Bins. Japan is installing Smago smart trash bins in tourist-heavy areas including Hakone in response to the increase in littering from rising visitor numbers, and the bins address the most consistent failure point of standard public bins by solving the problem of overflow before it happens. The bins use a built-in compaction mechanism that automatically compresses the contents when the fill level reaches a set threshold, increasing the effective capacity of the bin without requiring it to be emptied more frequently. Sensors monitor waste accumulation in real time and transmit fill-level data to waste management teams, so collection is dispatched when actually needed, rather than on a fixed schedule that may arrive too early or too late. The result is a bin that stays functional longer, alerts staff before it overflows, and manages the waste volume of a high-traffic tourist location without the visual and environmental impact of an overflowing bin that deters further correct disposal. Japan responded to a littering problem not by asking tourists to behave differently, but by building smarter infrastructure that makes correct disposal easier and more reliable. Number 14, 2D Cafe. Japan's 2D cafes are dining spaces designed to look exactly like the interior of an anime or cartoon, with furniture, walls, food, and staff uniforms, all rendered in a flat, illustrated style that creates the visual impression of eating inside a drawing, rather than a physical room. The effect is achieved through forced perspective painting, outline-style furniture, and color blocking that flattens the three-dimensional space into something that photographs like an animation still. The food served continues the theme with plating and presentation, designed to look illustrated rather than photographic. The concept exists because Japan's relationship with illustrated and animated culture is deep enough that being inside that world, rather than watching it, is a genuine hospitality category, rather than a novelty installation. You eat a meal in a room that looks like it was drawn rather than built, in a country where the artistic tradition that inspired the aesthetic is considered a legitimate and serious art form. Japan took a visual style and turned it into an architectural and hospitality experience. Number 15. Isen Yoshoku, one-dish restaurant. Isen Yoshoku is a restaurant in Kyoto that has served a single dish for its entire existence: a thin, crispy, savory pancake topped with green onion, egg, and bonito flakes, cooked on a flat iron griddle in front of the customer and eaten immediately from the cooking surface. The restaurant has never expanded the menu. The single dish is the entire offering and has been since the restaurant opened. Every element of the operation, the sourcing, the preparation, the cooking technique, and the service is focused entirely on making that one dish as well as it can be made. The result is a dish that has been refined through decades of daily repetition until there is nothing left to improve. The person cooking it has made it thousands of times. The ingredients are sourced specifically for it. Japan built a restaurant culture that treats total mastery of one thing as a more legitimate achievement than moderate competence across many. Isen Yoshoku is the most straightforward possible proof that the philosophy works. If you want to see more amazing things Japan is doing doing better than the rest of the world, then like and subscribe. And make sure to watch the video on your end screen. It's packed with even more life-improving things.